PD's world, changing your mindset.
How the individual determines how the society. Right-thinking individual determines right-thinking society. Moral upstanding individual determines moral upstanding society. Good to have you today on David's World. My name is remains PD Imani. Good to have you on another edition. Let's take a quick break and when we return to complete. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
PD's world, changing your mindset.
Just joining us, this is David's World. And today on the show, we'll be discussing about something very dear and important to us. And what is it all about? It's all about ritual among our children. It's becoming a non-student in Nigeria. You will agree with me. And to discuss this issue that are fitting deep into our fabric is no other person than Tony Iman. He's a legal practitioner, Secretary General Lower Niger Congress, is co-convener for NINA, and NINA is Nigerian Indigenous Nationality Alliance for Self-Determination. Mr. Tony, good to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Always looking good and calm.
Oh.
Wait till you start talking, start.
No,
Good to have you today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
You know, this opportunity.
Thank you.
Now, there's no time to waste and there's no time for frivolities because what is in our hand
it's an emergency. It's an emergency.
Ritual money or ritual making among our teenagers. It's really disturbing. Now, my question is this. We're no longer asking how or where. My question is this. What would you attribute this to? Because we need to know where we've gotten it wrong for us to be able to solve it. What would you attribute this to? Because it's already here. You already have it. You have 12-year-old girl who sold 2-year-old baby parts. Now, let's imagine 12-year-old girl. What is she doing with money? To have 17, 16, 19 children killing their fellow beings. Just start. In fact, each time I read this kind of news, I cry, I shed tears. Now my question today is this. What would we attribute this to? Because if we don't know where it's coming, we might not be able to solve it.
Yeah, so many of such are coming out. If you want to, like you go to the mirror to look at yourself, to see exactly what you look like. It is this kind of a thing that becomes the mirror by which society could gauge itself. What those young people are doing now, they copy it. That's what society. They are a reflection of what the society has become. They didn't go to learn it from the land of the dead, or it wasn't inflicted upon them from the space, from outer space. It is what they see. Like you go to a primary school class and ask them, oh, what do you want to become? You begin to hear the kind of things. 50 years ago they say, oh, I want to be doctor. 40 years ago they will say, I want to be engineer and lawyer. But progressively in the last 10, 15 years, you are likely to get, I want to be senator, I want to be governor, I want to be politician. Progressively you get down to where we are now, where in their heart of hearts, they are seeing the people being celebrated in society. That's now their role. Those are now their role models, and they begin to look at what those. If it was a footballer, they want to be footballers. If it was a musician that was being celebrated, they want to be. One thing led to the other. But the question of how they now got into the business of wanting to make money for themselves through this method, because that's what is the problem. Not just the general, desire to be successful or to make money. They've seen the society celebrating. They've seen the men of God, preaching prosperity and holding it up as what everybody should do everything to become a part of. But to trace it to where we could, say it began, I clearly remember, and this is unfortunate because, the Nollywood that began as something, creating something big out of nothing. People coming together to just create an industry, I will remember that the first yes, the movie that really launched Nollywood into the consciousness of the Nigerian public. You remember the title, Living in Bondage, you know, and we saw how it all went down, that, you know, suddenly people went to do some ritual with some new wife, and
his mother,
yes,
and
then
that he wasn't well informed.
but there came big, you know, affluence and all the things that came with it. Well, towards the end of the video, you could see also that there was some boomerang. So at that time, you could say that there was an intention to, there was some kind of modicum of discipline to balance. So the story does not end with just making money and being happy ever after. It went on to the consequences of. But again, I was listening to the police, you know, public relations officer in Ogun State, the one that was parading the four young men, yeah, that beheaded, you know, their friend and burnt her head in the process of going to ritual that would become money for them. You know, listening closely at that police officer, brilliant, you know, interrogation of the situation that was confronting him. He pointed out that, you know, Nollywood, you know, even if the film ends with some kind of lesson, you don't want to go there at all, because not everybody will want to sit back and learn that lesson. And even at that, some will say some are reckless by nature, especially young boys and girls who haven't. You just say, look, let's make the money first, then we manage what is left later. So that's for Nollywood. Then you come to the ones who are the musicians that, you know, the artists that are now, you know, celebrities that throw money all over the place. You know, it becomes something young, impressionable minds will want to join, because they see that there's really nothing standing between them. All the technology of today makes it possible for people to test out all kinds of things. And they think, look, why can't we go there? And the drug money people, the prosperity preachers, and what I would call poor parenting, or the failure of parenting in all of this. Because the parents are the ones celebrating all the wrong things, and they without knowing it or without intending it, they impact on these young men into the thought that, look, we're going to make it. The parents actually, you know, pushing their own children to go do whatever others do to make this money. They send some they send to Europe, some they send to other Asia and all of that.
They enroll them with all these Yahoo boys to go and learn.
Yes, parents are now apprenticing their children to, you know, fraudsters, scam artists. So the one is musical art, the other is scam art, all kinds of justification, and then you end up with this kind of a situation in which the fabrics of society has broken down. In a situation where the union, that's the country, you know, and the framework and all kinds of things that will have moderated the behaviors inside there, that polity already gone bad. Now the society itself just like downstream. The country is the upstream. The individual, that is society, is the downstream. The downstream is gone, you know, to the docks as far as you can see.
No, I like what you said. You said that the Nollywood,
yes,
in one way or the other, has contributed to this.
Yes.
And you now said that how many of them have the patience to watch the movie from the beginning to the end?
Yeah.
Because at the end, they always show the consequences.
Yes.
Now, you actually mentioned about the parenting. I think our attention should be more on parenting, because in our today's world, we now have mothers, parents who give birth to children they can't take care of. In our society today, we have more children heading for themselves. Don't you think it has a lot to do with parenting?
Yeah, so much to do with parenting. But when you say parenting, you are taking it for granted that there's some kind of you know, inbuilt you know, attribute that should then you know, be passed on to the one you call parent today. Maybe 10 years ago was himself or herself youth. So if you want to know where the rain began to beat this society, you look at the people who are parents today. What was happening when they were in their teens and early 20s and 30s? So we've gone almost three. You can't give what you don't have. So They actually also grew up in a situation where the evil was already being celebrated above good. Darkness was, prevailing over light, and falsehood was being celebrated above truth. So they have nothing to pass on to the ones who are coming. So we have to do a deeper introspection to see whether we could come to something that will begin to recalibrate the moral, compass of the society.
So what you're saying in essence, dramatizing those evil things
Yes.
actually what has given birth to this, because those are the things the children see.
Yes.
And they feel that, because you might be right, because even so now, in most of the things you mentioned, we've not seen people being persecuted, being arrested for the evils they do,
Yeah.
even our big politicians.
Yeah.
So it now becomes a common thing.
Something to be celebrated. The society is celebrating it. So who doesn't want to be the one spending the big money and being celebrated by society? Everybody wants to. So the young people don't want to waste their time going to stay 20 years in school. They want to get at the money right now. And if all they see around themselves, back to Nollywood, so that we can separate the grain from the chaff. Just like all the other areas of endeavor, charlatans have taken over. You understand? So the technology has also made it, IT technology has made it easy for people to just gather in street corners and record themselves, and it becomes Nollywood for all you care. And it is in that kind of charlatancy, that kind of denigration of all values that you now see, all kinds of things that couldn't have been done by those who conceived this. But a few years ago, I had sufficient concern for this matter that I called a meeting of the big directors and producers. They had something to do in Abuja, so I went to have a meeting with them to say, look, this industry has been created. It has added value in its own way, engaging so many people in an economy that is not able to absorb people who seek employment. But now the time has come to re-evaluate and recalibrate the contents of what is given out, because society is going to suffer from what is coming now. Jonathan was president. I remember when President Jonathan made some, there was some money, there was some grant that was made up. It was in the period they were going to hold the meetings about how to manage that grant that I had to, hop into Abuja to see whether we could have a quiet conversation around the contents that will now go out in their name, because anybody who does anything, as long as it's coming from Nigeria, that is government side. That is government side. As everything, like every other thing that has been bastardized in the system, you could see all the census board will do is if they see one anywhere green and red and yellow begin to meet, they think that Biafra is coming. So that's all they do. They leave the more important thing, chasing rats all around the place. So they don't, because when you look at the contents, if in that time, how many years ago now, if in that time it was of sufficient concern to me to, build it into my itinerary that I will have to go and sit down with the big stakeholders in this industry. Of course, they did listen, but money was more important for the ones who were chasing after money. So there was no focus on that aspect of content. Progressively, more people became their own lords in the matter, because technology made it possible for them to just do. And as long as it will go out from Nigeria, it is Nollywood. You understand? So it doesn't matter, and nobody will know. Nobody will know that there's no censorship that's going on anywhere in the real sense of it.
I quite agree with you. Nollywood have a lot to share from this. Yeah. But being a religious society, we believe that train a child in a way the child should grow up. And when the child grows up, he or she will not depart from that road. If parenting in this side of the world has been a very important thing for us, I think Nollywood might not take the much blame they are taking today. What do you think about that?
Well, there will have been the moderating influence, because in other societies too, all kinds of things are shown. But parenting and the role of the church is central to this, because that's where the moral, the character of the child is between the home and the church. And the school. And if you look back 30, 40 years ago, or even beyond, you see what has become the golden era. Was that era where the church owned the schools, and so the teachers and the pupils interacted within the moral parameters set in that. You knew where the boundaries were on all kinds of conducts. And then what is society celebrating? The church that is day and night preaching prosperity and doing all kinds of things to demonstrate that it's all about how much money you make and how much money you have. They have the front rows that are reserved and all kinds. So you begin to see that that there's a grand failure of moral content in how society is being put together. And where do you go with such? Because look at the Ten Commandments, for instance. To tell you, it goes back to, I always like to look at the diagnosis, going from diagnosis to prescription. Exactly. Now, how did the church even come to where they are doing all this? Because now, look at the Ten Commandments. Very simple. I had cause not too long ago to speak to a gathering of church leaders in a retreat, and I came to tell them that the Ten Commandments are for men as they are for nations. If you want to know what brought Nigeria to where it is on this subject matter, look at the Ten Commandments. Put Nigeria side by side, select randomly 3-4 successful countries and put Nigeria side by side, each of them. Let's take the US we cite all the time. Let's take the Israel we know all the time. Let's take one of the Scandinavian countries that have become, the opposite of what Nigeria is in terms of doing things right or doing things wrong. You will see that the first commandment, thou shalt have no other God but me. What does the U.S. do to obey that command? Their national motto is, in God we trust. Yeah. That is everything. God comes before everything else. That's the almighty U.S., saying that. In Nigeria says, we're a secular nation. What does secularity mean in that sense? We don't want God in our affairs. So if you were that God, and one country says, in God we trust, and the other says, we want no God in our matter, that is the number. God has left us. That is the number one. That is commandment number one. Look at what America has done. Look at what Nigeria is doing. Thou shalt not steal. Very simple. Nigeria is not only stealing, but robbing for a living. That's why Nigeria will sell 3 million barrels of crude oil that belong to people who are crying and shouting, and they're beheading them, as their only response. What are you doing in that commandment? What will individuals then do if they see that their country is living with robbery as its only source of livelihood? That's the other command. Thou shalt. What are all those commandments? Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long. Exactly, yeah. The other countries of the world, you see how they treat their seniors. Yeah. And in Israel, for instance, not only do they take care of your health when you come to that age, 60, 65, not only does the state take over the care of, for your health and even general upkeep, children are dispatched on a routine basis from their school curriculum. Children, they know where their senior citizens live. And these children, as part of what they have to do, their school curriculum, are shared out in groups of 5s and 10s to go to be with those old people whose children and grandchildren may have left home for their own lives. And so it is from this generation of 70, 80, 90 years olds that those children begin to learn the story of their country, because they come sit with them 3, 4, 5 hours. That's the days, and they rotate it so that all those lonely old people, people who should have been lonely and all by themselves, are kept company by these children who then learn from. So they live longer, they are happier. The children are learning directly from those who fought in those wars by which Israel gathered. So in all of it, you come back to the commandment, and look at Nigeria that will not only owe the pensions of people who worked all their lives for them. So from thou shalt not steal, you come to thou shalt not kill. Countries that want to obey that commandment actually began to remove the death sentence from their statute books. What does Nigeria do?
And they value life.
Nigeria, yes, that is to tell you how far countries are willing to go. You look at their criminal administration, the system. You see how much it tries to preserve life. And then you come to Nigeria. Oh, thou shalt not kill. Government is killing. The kidnapper is killing. Boko Haram is killing. Army is killing. Police is killing. And for every minor offense, death sentence. You've kept young people out of any meaningful engagement, and some of them go into kidnapping. You don't look back at why they are going into kidnapping. You put death sentence on kidnapping. Every Indian hemp, death sentence like that. What are you doing as a society? Can we stand side by side those societies that are trying to preserve human life when all we're doing is to take as much? Nigeria kills for sport. Nigeria kills for sport. That was what happened to NSAS. Nigeria kills for sport. So why would that God that forbids such acts be looking at that country that do the opposite of what he has commanded? You take it, all the 10 commandments, you will see that Nigeria is doing the exact opposite of what thou shalt not bear false witness. Our constitution is sitting on the foundation of false witness, that we, the people, have solemnly resolved to submit our sovereignty into this union, and that we made the constitution. Is that not what false witness can be worse than that?
Thou shalt not commit adultery with someone's
Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's Nigeria is coveting everything. The port of Lagos is coveted and taken. The bitumen of Ondo is coveted and taken by exclusive list. The limestone of Benue is coveted and handed over to Dangote to become the richest man in Africa. Handed over to Bua Cement in Sokoto to become the 4th richest man in Africa. The port of Lagos is coveted and given to Dangote half. In Port Harcourt, Intel, that is given to another Fulani man, Atiku. That is what Nigeria is doing as a corporate entity. And take Nigeria through those 10 commandments. Tell me the one that they have kept. And tell me why they will not pay it. Because, again, you see the punishments.
And as they're doing this, the younger ones are watching.
That is what has ruined everything. Well, how do you say thou shalt not steal, and the country is living by robbery and stealing? No, stealing is where you go to take when the man is not there. Robbery is where you are coming with machete. If you resist, you behead him. That's what Nigeria is doing for a living. Otherwise, tell me how to explain selling 3 million barrels of crude oil that belong to people who are refusing, who are protesting, and you are killing them. Tell me how you should explain how the port of the economic assets of all the parts of the country are sequestered by people who sit in Abuja and share it over there. And whenever they complain, you saw what Obasanjo did the other day, banging the table to tell the judge that the oil and gas doesn't belong to them anymore. Nigeria is stealing, and he was the one that codified that stealing enterprise in 1979 that became 1999 constitution. So that's who we are, and it has gone from that country doing it to the individuals doing it. The politicians, that's all they do. Go and look at the appropriation that every day we talk about party. What is more brazen in terms of stealing than taking the Commonwealth and sharing amongst a few people?
And at this stage we've gotten to our teenagers, we are not coming out of this soon.
Unless we can come out of this inside this year if we choose to. The proposition of the NINAs that we're talking, the constitutional force majeure, is for us to accept that we have lost our way as a country, we've lost our way as a society. let us dress back and go and turn off the tap. We can today, do like South Africa did with apartheid constitution, remove it and sit down and put in place something that can begin to recalibrate the framework and the moral content of our society. If we don't, we're just heading downhill until we plunge into the abyss where we will end.
Now, if we've said it all, now what's your words to the Nollywood in single words? Church and the family.
Let us take responsibility, whether we are Nollywood glamorizing ritual killing, whether we are church leader preaching prosperity, whether we are political merchants doing all kinds of things you see them do, because it's actually what they do. They hire the young people, they hire them to come and do talking for them, learn those things from them. Go and check the ones in the National Assembly now. Find out where they were some 10, 15 years ago and see where they were doing the thuggery that led them. Look at Lagos. See who was doing what to become what they have become and where they are likely to go next. Young people are watching, because those same young people you go to hire to come and do those things for you, you soon begin to do the same for themselves, beheading people to win election. And so I think it's a matter of taking responsibility. Let us take responsibility for our society, for our present, for our future, to say we can't continue to build on a foundation, on such a rickety foundation, and not expect a collapse. That collapse is now gone beyond the framework. It's now in the inside. That's the moral fabric of society had broken down. That's why you saw the young boy that was going to, the one that was going to lure other children to ritualists and being paid 15,000 per life.
Wow, it's been wonderful speaking with Tony, and he has said it all. And telling you, if we all don't stand up this time around and do something about this, it's going to consume us. He is saying that it's going to consume me. I feel we've been consumed already, because to the stage we are today, having our teenagers not to feel anything to take another life is a big problem on our hands. And each and every one of us should share out of this blame. Enough time of shifting blame, is not me, it's not me. All of us should take this blame and stand up like Tony suggested and do something to get it right in our society today. That's what we'll be taking today on Betty's World. If you missed this interview, you can watch it online on www.bettysworld.tv. Remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share with friends and baby friends, and like our videos. That's what we'll be taking today. Remember, keep love alive. Love you.
Betty's World, changing your mindset.